Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I want to welcome Tom Kelly and Gary from Gary's Apps. I'm Steve, and we will be starting the radio side in a minute. Tom does a much better intro than me, as you guys all know, clearly. So I'm going to take a minute, since I don't during the show, and just look at the... Hey, what's up, Hannibal? What's up, Behemoth Monkey? Saw you last night, too. And why is his comment deleted, or is that an avatar that's not showing?
No, it's an avatar. It's a waving hand.
Oh, okay. Hey, Rideshare, Lisa. Lisa, why are you on that side of the fence?
Yeah. Get over here, Lisa. Waiting for you.
What's wrong with you?
You're one of the stars.
You know, guys, that saying the show must go on. Well, the show can't go on without Lisa, so we're going to leave.
Forget the whole thing. I'm just going to shut down the whole radio station. It was great for 2.5 years, but Lisa doesn't bother to show up, so screw it. I'm done.
She's working. You can be working. Call in the second hour somehow, even if you don't have a video. What's up, Rodney? Hey, Traditional IC, and what's up, Rideshare Rick? How are you? Glad to see everybody on Friday.
I'm glad somebody's working.
Wait, this didn't work?
Yeah.
What? I had a scheduled time to be here.
You're having far too much fun for this to be work.
The gig apps don't even schedule me.
I know.
I'll wait till we're on the radio, but speaking of work, I had a stellar day yesterday.
Oh, good. I want to hear about that.
Yes. Rideshare Lisa says Rideshare is busy. So Syracuse, New York, look out. Rideshare surging.
That's right.
Is the weather bad, Lisa? Why is Rideshare doing so good? Is there an event in town? What's going on? You got a bunch of crazy World Cup fanatics, oddly, in Syracuse, New York. In Southern California, doing personals or doing personal rights of from all day today. Oh, I got you. Okay.
All right. I'm going to be starting up on the radio side here in about a little bit more than that. I moved some things around and shortened up the breaks a little bit, so things will be a little bit different tonight.
All right. If anybody in the comments has any can break down any of the Elon Musk live feed without Gary having to read these 7,000 numbers by Matt Tabby or whatever it is, because this is kind of just like ruthless. Hey, like Traditional IC, do you have a link to this in a document or the Elon Musk stuff or anything like that instead of looking at the Twitter page? I'm just curious. If you do, you got a handle, you can drop it in the comments.
It looks like this. There's one tweet on here that says almost 96%, all the way up to 99% of contributions to Twitter were done by Democrats.
Okay, I just want the meat of what happened, like what they. I want to see what they removed.
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Like,
see
I want to
too.
see what
like,
they think.
right
We're too stupid to understand it, so we're just not going to show you this, or we're not going to let you see this on an open social platform. Like,
well, they posted some links, and I clicked on those links, but they're all still deleted.
Thank you. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, like now though, they're like it's supposed to be over the Hunter Biden thing, but they're doing political parties.
Yeah, that's not the part I care about so much.
Yeah.
I want to see like what they said. No. Wrap that up. That can't be talked about.
Right.
Because I have a feeling it's really stupid. Like, it's not. I don't even think it's gonna be some big bombshell. I think it's gonna be dumb.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just going to make everybody feel stupid. Like, really? We couldn't read this.
I mean, so far I haven't like came across anything that was just like, wow. I mean,
hey guys, there's 11 of you in here. Smack that like. Move it up the algorithmic challenge. I want a shirt that says algorithmically challenged.
Oh, we're late coming back in. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. That's your job, man.
Yeah. All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Welcome in TNCRadio.live. It's Friday night, and that means we turn our attention to all things gig related. Tonight, it's the Driver Nation. I'm Tom Kelly, along with Steve and Gary. We're going to be with you for the next couple of hours talking all sorts of things about the gig economy, what's going on out there in the world of rideshare. We're simulcasting right now on YouTube. So if you go out and find Rideshare Rodeo on YouTube, that's Steve's channel, so you can see our wonderfully cute faces. Are we cute, guys? Yeah, maybe not. You can go out there and see us. Or if you're out driving and you can't really watch, but you want to listen to what's going on, go ahead and do that. You can do that through the TNCRadio.live app. And we're going to, we got all sorts of things going on here. Now, let's see. I'm losing track of what we were here last week, right?
no. Thanksgiving was last week.
Okay, man. I lost track of what was when. So it's been 2 weeks since we've all been together. So it's good to have everybody back here with us tonight. So let's start off talking with Gary. Gary, how are you doing tonight, buddy?
Getting over being sick. Right? Go visit family for holidays, and of course got sick. So
oh no,
sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I told them all I'm gonna have to quit visiting.
Well, I suppose that's one way to do it is just don't show up anymore.
Yeah, I would come, but remember last year? Remember what happened last year? And they're like, no, I'm like, yeah, I got sick. See, I can't come. Y'all gonna get me sick again.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry you got sick. What did you have? COVID? A bad?
No, it's I don't know because I haven't had any fever. It seems like all just congestion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. My son just in the last 2 hours has tested positive for the flu, and so yeah, he's pretty out. 103-degree fever, all that good stuff.
I feel like that's even worse than COVID now.
Yeah. And
if you've had COVID,
yeah,
I should say, or if you've.
Steve, how about you? How was your Thanksgiving?
That was great. Spent it with my son and my mom, and yeah, pretty chill, laid back, fun. Cool. Didn't work.
Did you do any snowboarding or anything?
I've not been yet this year. Not enough snow yet. I mean, I could find enough snow, but I'd be going up to take like one of 3 runs, and there's no out of bounds right now. I mean, it's not even with machines until we have enough snow. Well, I mean, usually we hope to, but the last few years it's been a little late coming.
So, what is late? Is it usually there by now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was even telling Gary that normally I get a day in with my friend Jesse, even if it's like what the conditions are now, like if there's 1 to 4 runs open or something. We obviously aren't going into the backcountry yet, but even at a resort, if there's 1 to 4 runs open, we'll get a run in by usually Halloween.
Wow.
And the last 2 years, we haven't got one in until December. It's actually been like this week. It's actually been somewhere in the 1st through the 10th of December has been the first day of riding for us the last couple of years.
Wow. So,
but I also need to point out that we were for 2 years, we were pandemically challenged at the resorts because you had to use this thing that none of us have ever had to do. Like I have a Copper pass, right? So at Copper, everywhere's free parking and you just take these buses in. And now you had to do this thing called Park Whiz. and you had to download this app and tell Copper you were going to be riding that day during the 2 years of the pandemic because of social distancing and all that, even outside. And because of the buses and whatnot, they were only letting so many cars in. So like probably only about a third to maybe half as many people are usually on the mountain for 2 years were on the mountain. And it sucked because it made it so if you went up there, it was next to impossible to, like, if I have a pass and if I could like walk to Copper or get a ride from somebody, I could ride because once I get up to the lift, I have a pass. But I couldn't park my car. So it made it a real challenge.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get up there then.
Yeah.
So. Good. My wife and I had a quiet Thanksgiving day. We're in a weird position where, we're older and the kids are all grown. They have all their kids, and the in-laws are all sick and have issues and that kind of. We're healthy, but we felt like, okay, the kids need to go spend time with the other parents. My son's wife's parents and my daughter's. So. You go deal with them. We're going to have a quiet Thanksgiving. You guys get a chance to drop by, fine. But, we didn't have a big Thanksgiving this year. Instead, we went and saw a movie. We went and saw that Wakanda movie. Good movie.
Oh, the new one? Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that too. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Angela Bassett, I think she's going to win Best Supporting Actress in a movie. I mean, she was awesome in that movie and just incredibly well done. And, the first one got nominated for an Oscar. This one may or may not, but I think it's going to get some buzz this year.
Yeah, are you planning on going to see the new Avatar?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
3 hour and 6 minute runtime.
When does that come out?
December 16th.
Yeah. 2 weeks from tonight. Matter of fact, we won't be having a show 2 weeks from tonight because I'll be at but. Yeah,
that would mean 3 weeks off in a row, Tom. So.
Yeah, can't do that. I love the first Avatar. And have you seen the new trailer dropped yesterday for the new Indiana Jones movie?
I have not.
No.
Oh man, yeah, you got to see that trailer. Look for that.
Oh, it's number 5. It says
number 5.
with Harrison Ford.
Yeah. And the trailer itself talks about how he's 80 years old now and how much he misses the days where he was out doing stuff. But then you got shots of him shooting through a city, trying not to get hit by cars and all this kind of stuff. It looks pretty good, But what I tell people all the time is, and for those of you who are a little bit closer to my age, you'll know what I'm talking about. I am always looking for a movie that made me feel the way I felt the day I walked out of the theater the first time I saw the first Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, you're not going to feel like that again, Tom.
Well, it won't be exactly the same.
But it's a whole mathematical equation of your age.
Yeah.
The awesomeness of the movie, the fact that like maybe you thought that could be you.
It was so different than anything anybody had ever seen up to that point. Now, people have made a lot of movies with the idea of let's make it like Indiana Jones. Let's find that balance of humor and action and plot and story and all that didn't exist before that movie. And some have gotten closer than others. I felt like when I walked out of the theater after Avatar, I felt like I'd been, that it had moved me. I had been someplace. It was something different and original and cool. I don't know about this idea of 3 more movies. There's going to be 3 more movies, 23, 24, and 25 each year. The second or third Friday in December, they're going to drop one of these movies. And
in the Avatar series, you mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought you meant in the Indiana Jones. And I was like,
Jones.
2025 will be like him versus Biden, bigger dementia.
Yeah. Indiana Jones laying in bed.
Hey, I need to shout this out, you guys. we have I'd never see these. We have a Twitch person in here. So what is up, Sebastian Timmy?
Yeah, he wants to know what this stream is about.
We don't know.
Oh.
But hang around. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah, well, what we like to do on Friday nights is so TNCRadio.live is a internet streaming radio station that works with truckers all over the United States and Canada. We operate 24/7, and the original point of the station, though, when we first put it together, was we were building a station that was going to be based on and for rideshare drivers. Unfortunately, we got ready to launch on March the 24th, 2020. And as you all remember, March the 12th, 2020, the entire world came to a screeching halt. And for all intents and purposes, there was no rideshare on the March the 24th, 2020. Certainly not enough to launch a radio station with professional radio people and all that kind of stuff. So and remember too, when that first happened, everybody was like, well, this is only going to be for a week or two, maybe till the end of the month.
I don't know. I gotta say, I didn't feel like that. But there's a reason why. I was coming off of doing road shows with Elton John. And the tour was starting to be canceled in shows. And then it was starting to be canceled in like bulk in countries. Mm-hmm. And they were looking so far ahead on the calendar. And this was his finale 3-year tour. We're about a year and change in. And I'm going, this is weird. And when I got home, like, because not long after you did the station was when I launched the podcast, was the first week of May that year. And so like I was getting home and like we were kind of under the understanding by whatever it was when the package passed Congress on March 28th. I kind of had a feeling we're going to be in this for a bit.
Yeah. It took us a little while though to all come to the conclusion that this isn't just even a month or two. This may be the rest of this year. And we were talking about, okay, well, we've got all this infrastructure that we've built to do this whole thing. We don't have our audience. And we started comparing notes and realizing we all had a relationship or tie-in somehow to the trucking industry. So we backed off all of our marketing, backed off what we were planning to do, and relaunched the thing on July 1st of 2020, aimed at truck drivers instead of working with rideshare drivers. So that's how we got started. And but I never lost my love for rideshare and the needs that we had to have for doing that. And hold on just a second here.
And we've talked about this a lot over the year. Don't forget that a lot of truckers do gig work on the side.
Exactly. So that got us launching the station, originally truckers, but still wanting to do stuff involving rideshare. Steve and I hooked up later in the year and said, hey, I see what you're doing. Here's what I'm doing. We're not competitors. We actually complement each other pretty well. Let's figure out ways to work together. And I started playing a lot of Steve stuff on the radio station on Friday nights, because Friday nights are the time when truck drivers listen to this station the least. But rideshare listens to it the most. Okay, because we got a lot of drivers who are out there doing it, and there's no reason for me to be playing content that's for truck drivers when they're not listening. But I wanted to make sure that we had the right audience and the right content matching. I mean, that's one of the things you do when you're in radio all the time is who's actually listening and what are they listening for at this time. And Friday nights are a great time. And there are plenty of people right now who are listening who will never call into the show and they'll never get on YouTube and so because they're just driving around and they've got this on in the background and maybe they're listening to it while they're sitting in Chicago O'Hare's airport parking waiting area, waiting to, go pick up people. And this is, something for them to listen to while they're doing their work. And so, I find it to be the perfect balance. So what are we doing here? What are we doing on this particular stream at this time? Talking all sorts of things around rideshare. And Steve, does a remarkable job in putting together information for the drivers. And it's not like, Steve's making $1.2 million a year going around pulling all this information together. It's 1.1.
I'm gonna need a raise, Steve, from 0 to something.
Me too, man. I'm not even paying myself.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make a note. I got a pen.
Yeah, but Steve does this because he cares about the industry. He cares about the people, and I do too. And so we decided, let's get together on Friday nights and bring in the best of the best and talk about what's going on in the world of the gig economy. And sometimes we spend the entire time talking about what we don't like about Lyft or Lyft in trouble again. Can you believe it? Oh, we'll get to that later. But we'll talk about Lyft. We'll talk about Uber. We'll talk about DoorDash. And sometimes we're full of compliments. Sometimes we like what somebody's doing. We want to say that too. So this is just a chance on a Friday evening, talk about what we're seeing out there, what the trends are, and to give you, the drivers, an opportunity to, talk with each other and talk with us about what's on your mind as you're looking at all this going down.
And that's one thing I was going to say too, is like, I don't know where we were, Gary, you saw, I think, wherever we were when we ended the last live stream for how many views we had. I guarantee you we're probably double that now, which means people are coming back. Cause I look at the watch time too. It's not like some people after the fact come and watch a minute. They're watching a good portion of this. And I think they're trying to figure out when it is. So maybe I need to say that in here. Like, it's Friday right now.
Yeah.
Like Fridays, 7 to 9 Eastern, live. This show.
Well, that's why I've been trying to tell everybody on our Thursday stream as well. Make sure you're here on Fridays because that's the radio show.
Sure.
Yeah, and then I jump in after you. Like last night was perfect because I was like, you guys, we love. I mean, like Rick is in here. Rick, if you want to join the stream, love to have you. And if you're out working, you don't need a camera. We want you focused on the road. We love having people even working.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can dial in anytime you want to, 706-862-8620. That's 706 TNC0.
And it's scrolling across the bottom.
It is. Yeah. So, but for those of you who are just listening,
that's right.
And from the app too, if you're listening over the app, press the call us button, and it's just one button dialing. You click on the TNC Radio logo and you'll be connected right in with us. So happy to have you give us a call and chat about whatever's on your mind. We're going to take our first break on the radio side, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. It's Friday night here. We'll be right back.
So we got we'll just do this since we got a few minutes. So Rick said that he understood that they were simultaneously filming 2, 3, and 4 in the Avatar series at the studios. Right,
that's correct.
So they're all done then?
No, it takes a year or so to do the post, and right. And so
all the footage is collected.
Pretty close. I think that I don't know if they're done, but I think they're pretty close to being done.
Huh. So somewhere out there on the internet, guys, is all the footage to the next 3 avatars.
And it's just a matter of time before somebody leaks it.
Tom and I will each give you $10 for a copy.
I'll give them $11.
All right, I'll throw in 12.
Okay.
So we're up to $23, guys.
Yeah, I'm not going 12.
Yeah, 23. That's it.
Yeah.
We'll pay $23. We'll give it to Tremaine. We'll tell him to make a bunch of movies out of it.
Oh, yeah, it's great. Yeah.
And we'll tell him, just say, what? I can't do that?
Yeah, I didn't know that was illegal.
By the way, you guys, I need to find the highlight reel because we've had Tremaine on twice. And Tremaine, the second time he was on, there was a really weird experience.
Hold on. Let me bring us back in here on the radio side. Like I said, it's a lot shorter than it used to be.
Oh, that is really short.
Coming back in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. Friday night, Driver Nation. I'm Tom, along with Steve and Gary. We'll be here with you for the next hour and a half or so, talking all things around the gig economy. Steve, you were just about to tell us some serious stuff. No, not serious.
Well, no, I want to. Yeah, this is good because the radio listeners, we weren't doing any video at that time.
No.
So yeah, this is only applies to them. That's why we couldn't pull back the footage. But oddly, Tremaine, you guys remember Tremaine Hayhoe. If you don't, he's the director, writer, and producer of the movie Rideshare. We had him on this program twice, and the second time we had him on, he was recording for his channel himself on his couch while he was on the radio with us, which is great because we couldn't have captured this moment without it because it was a radio break. So at the time we didn't have YouTube rolling, so nobody could see it. It was just me, Tom, Tremaine, whoever else was here, and that was it. And that was all. But then Tremaine caught it on this camera, and I have it where we had a caller call in. I don't even remember. It's been a while. I don't even remember exactly how it went. He was asking Tremaine about dating, and then
Oh my gosh!
like
Yeah.
who would pay, and he was a guy. And
Yeah.
Tremaine didn't want to say something because he was like, well, I date girls.
Yeah, it was a weird call, and I couldn't figure out is this guy like a friend of Jermaine's and he's just messing with him, or
Yeah, and Tremaine was like literally like no joke. He was like, I have no idea. In the end, for those that heard it, in the end, about a half hour later, we brought the guy on, and he even played it for a minute when we brought him on, but then it ended up being a friend of Tremaine's, an actor friend.
it was freaky. It was.
And even he was like, "You're kidding me," because he was like, he said, "Well, if we were out on a date, like how far could I get?" And he was like, he was making himself like sound like 80. He sounded
which
very
episode
old.
was that? So we can go back and listen to it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Tremaine sent me the video footage of he set down he took an iPhone and just set it down to be on StreamYard or to be on the radio, but he hit screen record too. So he was recording it. So I have it with the sound.
Oh, that's cool.
Of him sitting there going, you watch. We didn't get to even at the time see him, but we were watching his expressions to all this. I mean, like we can watch it. We need to post it. I need to.
Yeah, absolutely. That was hilarious. That was great stuff.
But he was Tremaine's like I remember when he asked, like how far do we get if I take you out to dinner, and Tremaine was like, well, who's paying?
It was weird.
It was so
weird,
dude. But yeah. Anyway, God bless Tremaine. By the way, his movie is coming out, Simp, like in the next 2 weeks.
And which one is that? What's that?
That
one?
is the Instagram model who gets sucked into some kind of pit of Silence of the Lambs type scariness up in Northern California. I don't know.
Some type of horror flick.
There's something very, very wrong with Tremaine. Just
God bless him.
Which I love. That's what I love about him. But there's something really, and I wonder sometimes who has got more problems, those of us who watch his stuff or Tremaine himself, because there are those of us who watch his stuff and go, that's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
I don't know. If anybody talks to Tremaine for any given period of time, the guy goes to church every Sunday. Not that says a lot about anybody, but he for the weirdo he is, he can be the other way too. He's just an odd guy. He's one of those awesome people you meet in life.
I bet you he probably is not the type to do it, but I'll bet you if you gave him an IQ test, he would be off the charts there. I think that guy's one. I
would take your money on that.
I think
all day.
I think he's a pretty brilliant guy myself.
I don't.
You don't.
I think he's smart, but I don't think he'd genius out on the IQ test. No.
I think.
No offense, Tremaine. I love you. You know that. I love you.
But where do you think he'd end up? Like bottom quarter, or, top 8%, bottom 8%, something like that.
He'd be functional.
Functional, okay.
Again, I love you, Tremaine. You know that I do.
Steve's like 50. Oh, wrong button. 50.
Yeah.
So, gig workers set their own rates and give themselves raises. Well, Nobody told me that. Nobody told me that. I didn't know anything.
He's talking from that was earlier when we were talking about that we'd pay for somebody grabbing that avatar footage. And whoever grabbed that, they'd be setting their own rates. And they probably would be too.
Rideshare Lisa is chiming in about Tremaine. She's saying it's actually interesting. But that you didn't need to say that. You could have just started with the next thing because we're hoping it's interesting.
Right. And why are you giving away spoilers?
Well, I don't think she is. Really, is it? Yeah, because he said this. I know this too. It's about a girl who has an Instagram and claimed she was kidnapped, but no one believed her.
Wow.
But I've seen some of the footage, and it's got some freaky stuff in it for sure. Tom, you're a Hey Ho Studio member.
You bet I am.
Yeah, you could have watched the premiere.
Oh,
It was a like a 7-minute short premiere.
Oh, I probably
I think it's still available to you. But
yeah, okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, yep. And I finally, while we're speaking of Tremaine, I finally watched Cat Town Story, you guys. Not recently, but it was about 4 or 5 weeks ago. Awesome movie. That's Tremaine's documentary. It won the award for Best Picture at the same studio they filmed Star Wars in over in England. I can't remember the name of it. Oh,
yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It's a very, 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 very big deal to win an award from the studio. And it won documentary, Best Documentary.
Wow.
Last year, or won Best Documentary this year, 2022, Cat Town Story. It was the winner. And it's good. It's about these people who, it's about a rescue clinic for cats in Oakland, California. It doesn't sound like the most interesting thing out of the gates, but it was different. Their approach was different. Tremaine's filming style definitely came through. You could tell, because if I didn't say it, maybe not, but if I told you, now you went and watched the documentary, you'd totally get it. You can see Tremaine all over it. So. But yeah, Pinewood Studios.
Pinewood, yep.
And they have an award. Thank you, Rick, by the way. They have an award they put out every year for Best Picture, Best Action, and then they do these award ceremonies there. Well, for the Best Documentary, or if it was a documentary like offset niche or something, I don't know what it was, but it won in a class of 58 movies that were submitted for his same class.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool, man. I mean, especially because that's not what he does.
Right. That is number one thing.
Right now, that's going to be his biggest awarded piece he's ever done. But yet he spent 4 times as much and still was on a low budget for Rideshare. And what did he tell us, Tom? 80,000? I think he made everything for Rideshare in under 80,000.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I mean, that's pretty good, considering every piece of crap multi-million-dollar flick that.
Yeah, have you guys ever watched the Project Green stuff that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck put together?
Project. I mean, I know that they've been doing stuff forever, but I don't know if I know.
This is way back when the first guy. Well, it's the truly behind the scenes of how a movie is put together, and they raised the money. I think it was $1 million for the first one that they did, and took a bunch of different ideas from a bunch of different guys who wanted to make movies and had never made it through in the Hollywood world, and then kind of came alongside them and helped make it happen. And you get the whole thing from them trying to hire the right actors and people who we know and people who've never heard of and all that kind of stuff. And it's a series, and it's funny. It's raw. There are days where it's pretty exciting putting together, and days where it's like, this whole thing's dead. We're dead. It's over. It's not going to happen. We're getting our funding pulled. The whole thing's dead. And then the next day something happens and they get it back together. It's very cool. If you're into movie making, which I am, and you think that kind of stuff is cool, it's very interesting to watch the behind the scenes of how this stuff gets built, especially when you're small and independent and and think of it as the gig workers of film. You know, these guys who are not attached to a massive studio who just comes in and goes, "Oh, you need another $30 million to bring in that actor? Sure, no problem." You know, where you got to figure out every single dollar and how it's going to be put together.
Yeah, it's called Project Greenlight. It says here 4 seasons.
Greenlight. Yeah. So I've only seen the first season, but you know, I thought it was pretty awesome. Back in the day when you something you know you couldn't go watch it on Netflix again. You liked something that you saw on TV, so you went to the store and you bought it on Blu-ray. You know, I went and bought it. I thought it was that good, so I could watch it again and really enjoyed it. You got a bunch of stuff in the UberLiftDrivers.com website this week, Steve, that I wanted to follow up on and chat with you about. And there's one in particular, if you don't mind me kind of jumping right in there, that I wanted to look at with you guys.
Which one?
This one, as you guys know, I used to be in IT, worked in the IT industry as an executive in a large IT consultancy group, and I spent a fair amount of time going back and forth to India and building out sites in India and that kind of stuff. So I'm familiar with India and have a lot of lifelong friends over in India now. And I find the people there to be absolutely amazing and hardworking and really great people. And so I find it interesting that in this one, India's gig economy is expanding, and discussion around how the entire ecosystem can flourish. I assume somewhere during your education, most of you heard about how India used to have something called the caste system, CASTE, which doesn't exist anymore, except that it totally exists. And while it's not government sanctioned the way it used to be, there is still, you know, they still look at different types of people as being in different levels of caste. And it's not about the color of your skin or whatever. It's you're born into a particular caste, and that's how they believe. So there are those who are born to be rich, and those who are born to be poor, and those who were born to be hard workers and that kind of stuff. And it's interesting how Western influence, especially American culture, through TV, films, and those kinds of things, have impacted the way the world works over there. And the first time I went, the office was abuzz, just stunned, because, you know, we're paying people to do jobs over there that we would pay over here $60, $70, $80, $90,000, and we're paying them $18,000, $10,000, you know, pennies to the dollar, you know, over there. But if you're making $23,000, let's say in India, you are rich. And there's
I was just going to ask you that. So do you currently have an example of what we talk about this for city to city and market to market here, but like what the cost of living is?
So it's really back asswards though from what we're used to. Okay, where you know, there were these women who I was watching one day. They put me in an office. I was teaching a 3-week class, and we had a couple of days off, and so I was just working out of this office one day, and when I watched this line of women who would come across out my window, and they were carrying these huge baskets of gravel on their heads, huge. And I would watch them come over the horizon and down this hill and all the way over to this area and dump out the concrete, put the basket under their arm, walk back over and you know, over the hill, and I wouldn't see them again. And then she'd come back, you know, maybe an hour later. So they're just, and this line of them there. And I asked one day, I said, how much do these women make? And there was some great discussion and arguing back and forth for a few minutes. And they finally came back and they said, 25. I said, 20, they only make $25 a day? They said, no, 25 cents US.
A day?
A day? A day.
What year was this though, first of all? Not that it's going to make it any better, but what year was it?
2002.
Okay.
Okay.
It makes it no better, just so everybody
Okay,
knows.
I actually, while he was talking, I looked something up here. A 3-bedroom apartment in downtown there.
Downtown what?
It just says city
Like
center,
Delphi or whatever.
like whatever their
Delhi.
capital is.
Delhi, yeah.
Yeah, it says that it's going to cost you $400 a month,
Right.
U.S.
But they had me understand $25 a day will feed the part of the family. Won't feed everything, but I mean, it gets you a loaf of bread, it gets you some
essentials.
The essentials. I was going to say stuff to make a sandwich. We wouldn't call it a sandwich. I mean, they don't call it a sandwich.
Yeah.
What they would need.
Truly essentials.
Right. Truly essentials.
Truly essentials.
And see, so I was paying a guy over there equivalent to a little over 20,000 US, which gave him enough money to hire a live-in butler.
Yeah.
To take care of his daily needs. And the thing that had everybody just wigged out was he hired a butler from a higher caste.
It says here that the average monthly net salary after tax is $552 US a month.
Mm-hmm.
But is that today? That's today.
Yeah, that's today.
And that includes all the top earners too, though.
Yeah, it says.
Yeah, that's it. I'm saying that's like
average.
the business class of
Right.
India. Because Tom, even like the blue, what would be blue collar? I don't want to get this messed up because I know it's different over there. But what would be blue collar over there is the everyday worker, and they probably the low end of that is probably crap.
Yeah, but you have to go down to the lowest caste where you have to understand, their job literally is to shovel crap.
Right.
Okay. And they're expected to be happy about it and whatever they're given to do the crap work.
Well, I mean, Zimbabwe's that way too. I mean, there's other.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been over to Zimbabwe. I can only tell you what I've seen with my own eyes in India, where people are so poor. We're talking people our age who are so poor that they literally do not have a pot to piss in, that they have to go to the bathroom on the side of the road in front of everybody because they don't have any place else to go. That I've seen it with my own eye. I mean, there are some areas of India that are that poor. And now we come over here with what we think is a little bit of money, and it's a lot of money and it changed and has changed their entire world and the way they think about life, the way they think about money, the way they think about each other. And now you bring into this, this is where I'm trying to tie all this back together. You bring into this the gig economy, where you're not dependent on the gifts of the people from the higher caste to the lower caste, and you're not treated a particular way because they don't know what caste you are, and you're driving around in your little moped doing DoorDash deliveries. And I don't even know if they have DoorDash there, but you know what I mean. Doing DoorDash deliveries, and there's who you are, what caste you're in, who your parents were, who your brother is. None of that matters over there now. And you're like, yeah, of course. Why would it matter? Because over there forever it mattered, and now it doesn't matter. And now it doesn't matter who you were, who your parents were, on how much money you can make in a year. And you're thinking, yeah. We have changed their culture. Did you guys ever watch Star Trek?
I did.
Yeah,
okay, so you remember in Star Trek, the number one rule, the prime directive: don't mess with another culture, right? Don't mess. We have totally messed with India's culture, and you can argue, is it better or worse? And sometimes they argue it's worse in the sense that they've lost some of who they were, what that culture was before, that some of it has been completely lost in being westernized. So there is a push back against America and Western ideas by many in India because they feel like they've lost something by us imparting our culture to them. We didn't tell them you have to be like this, but basically we said, if you want our money, you want to work with us, this is the way we work, and this is what you're going to have to do. So in a way, we do force our culture down their throats, and the television over there. When I was there the last time, I had never seen the show over here. It had been on for a long time, but I never seen it until I was over there. They loved the show Big Bang Theory.
Well,
And it was on.
Who doesn't? I love that show too.
But they love it because they got an Indian actor on it. Not to be racist.
And so I asked the people I worked with, what is it about this show that you guys like so much? And they said, well, we like Raj. And I was like, well, why? He's an idiot. And that's why we like him. He's wonderful. We love him, and we love and so they were playing that show 24 hours a day for an entire week on one of the stations. And I'm sorry, I'm not into Bollywood movies. My choices were BBC, Bollywood movies, or Big Bang Theory. And that's how I learned to love that show, was because I just go into my hotel room at night and turn it on, just leave it on until
they forced him to love it.
Damn it.
Yeah. So I'm
brainwashing me with the Big Bang Theory, man.
Yeah,
but you guys.
But people, their vision of who America is and what we're like, they get from Western television. Watching U.S. television. Isn't that scary? They get who we are via.
I get who we are from our television too.
We all do in some ways. Hey, I got to check out. I'm way overdue for a break on the radio side. Let me do that, and we'll be right back. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. It's Friday night, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Okay, I'm gonna shout out a couple hellos here. What's up, Necro? I saw you in there. Also, did I? Oh yeah, okay. Gary hates it when I do this, but I threw you a mod wrench. Party, Happy New Year. But what's up? What's up, Chris? See you coming in here. Hey, all. And then Tom, you got somebody in the chat here. The post trip. Tom, my man. Hello. It says, hello. I got it up on the screen. If that avatar helps you.
Yeah, I see it.
You know who that is? I guess
I don't know.
Oh. Post trip. Who are you? Hey, Bruce. What's up?
Hey, Bruce.
It's James, he says.
All right. James. Yeah, I know who James is. Yeah.
He probably knows a ton of James, man.
Yeah, no, I know who that James is. Yeah.
Like Jameson?
No, James. We do a show.
Hassan?
We do a show on Thursday nights.
Maybe you're not picking. It was supposed to be a joke. It was awful. It was supposed to be like Jameson.
I missed it. James and I do a show on Monday night or Thursday nights called Mind Your Trucking Business. And
okay, he's part of that.
Yeah, he's part of that group.
Okay. Oh yeah, he just put it MYTB.
That's right.
There you go. I think that you were going to have me on that at one point.
Yeah,
we had a issue with scheduling, but
right. Yeah. You and James ought to get together and chat some, because he's very interested in your background and your knowledge around the entire, I'm going to call it the AB5 stuff, just because shorthand, you know what I'm talking about.
We need a code word that just means we all know what we're saying here, right?
So yeah, AB5. We know what we're talking about.
Or not even that, though, like Kodiak. If we say Kodiak, we're talking about independent contractors, states that are going to take away the independent contractorship, right to work, AB5, Prop 22, Massachusetts 1, 2, 3, 4, Washington State, all that stuff. It just Kodiak means that from now on. That way, the rest of you don't have to be like, oh no, they're going there. Hey, Fred, Kodiak it is. There you go. That's our code word to say that we're thinking about it.
That's right.
So yeah, James, I know a lot about all the different Kodiak breeds.
Yeah.
Even the inbred ones. Yeah. Steve is actually committed to memory all 183 pages of the latest discussions on all that. That reminds me, I'm going to post in the chat for you guys, because this, I don't know if you saw this, but this is the first, is it the McKinley group or something? I'm going to have to find it, but posted the first findings on AB5 and Prop 22. It's a 4-page document. It's
interesting.
It's sloppy, to say the least. And it definitely used a lot of part-time workers when 85% of them would immediately not be able to work in this economy.
Right.
Because and you know, it really, one of the things that Tom, I'm sure you read Freight Waves.
Yes.
But this one came in Freight Waves, and actually the article is actually good. It's actually how we feel, but it actually had a link to the thing. But it also talked about how moms would suffer tremendously by this because the flexibility is gone. And I loved the fact that they were so point of fact with it, because everybody's like, well, they don't have to get rid of the, and I'm like, they don't have to, but of course the flexibility is gone. What do you, I mean, we don't even, that doesn't even have to be discussed, guys. Like, I don't know. I mean, they're not going to hire you as employees and let you just come and go as you please. It's just, I guarantee that. I'll bet my 1.1 million that Tom valued me at. So I'm actually going to post it for everybody. So this is the first study. I'm going to put it in the chat. Study on I think it's on Prop 22. They don't really refer to AB5 about it so much, but there it is. It's in the chat.
The first study on Kodiak.
Yeah, I should have put Kodiak. I'm already messing it up.
Yeah.
But I did put it in there. So if you guys want to pull it up when you get a chance, it's got a couple graphs and stuff in there too. Like it's absolutely worth looking at.
All right, coming back here on the radio side. And here we come back in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. It's Friday night. We're talking all things around the gig economy. This is Driver Nation. I'm Tom. He's Steve. He's Gary. Yeah, happy to have you here with us tonight. So thanks for putting up with me in that last segment there. I just, like I said, I have a heart for the people in India. Once you've been to a country like that and you see such incredible wealth. I mean, I'm talking like buildings, and you're like, Tom, you're kind of exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. Buildings that are literally painted in gold. Okay. And the most beautiful monstrosities you've ever seen. It's like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Next to the poorest of the poor that you've ever seen. And they all exist and live within the same culture. And it's crazy. It's for us, it's all very frantic and, but for them, it's just the way they live. And to see now that the gig economy that over here, we're struggling with, well, who's what, and you have part-time worker and AB5 and Kodiak and all this. We talk about all of this on our side of the globe as if this accounts for what's going on. The gig economy is not even a Western thing anymore, just a Western thing anymore. It's around the globe and it's expanding and it's growing and it cannot be contained. I know that just drives some politicians insane that they can't contain it because they want to contain it so badly, but it's blowing up all over. And even in India now, the world is different because of the gig economy, because of what, and love them or hate them, it doesn't matter, because of what people, the numbnut who started Uber and all, because of what these people are doing, they have changed the entire way that the world works and how people work together and get services from each other and all that. And I think in so many ways, we think, well, this all started years ago. In so many ways, I still believe the gig economy is in its infancy. We're hardly even know who we are yet. And shows like this one and all the stuff that Steve's doing, it's just barely the very beginning of the iceberg. It's not just
and the apps Gary's making.
This
whole threesome here is pretty. We're trying to be part of the shaking up the world system.
It is shaking up the world system,
and it should be, though,
to the very foundations of the way. And I think it's easier maybe to see its impact on an ancient world like India, where stuff's been there for 10,000 years, and you can go back and see, some of the really, there's nothing in the United States that's much more than a couple hundred years old, right? that has any grand scale to it. And over in India, you go back 1,000 generations, and we're changing what's happening, not just from Western influences like the Big Bang Theory, but this entire concept around the gig economy is shaking the world. And those of you who are part of it, you may not realize that you're part of something that, 100 years from now, people are going to look back on this time and look at what we, the people who are part of the gig economy, are doing, and say that was one of the major. There was the we learned this in school. First, we were agricultural, and then we were industrial, and then we technical. There's going to be something carved out when they look at the economics of the world and talk about this time when the gig economy expanded and began growing throughout the world, and how it is changing things in a way that economists never expected, planned for, or can even fully describe at this point.
Like the gig economy revolution, like the industrial revolution.
Exactly.
There you go.
This is a revolution,
and it is. And I don't know if you were really looking at the growth rates too. I know Gary saw the movie, The Gig Is Up. And for those who haven't seen The Gig Is Up, you probably won't agree with a lot of it because a lot of it is union based. But the bigger picture that you see and the way that they move around the globe and show you how the whole world is participating, all the way to China, how they're all participating, it shows that this growth is crazy. Even in the communist and places that maybe we're not even allowed to visit, they're allowing this. They like this.
Well, yeah, if you watch The Gig Is Up, though, you'll actually see how much is actually changing in other countries too.
Right.
Like China, for example, and that, they was having a feud over there for that stuff.
Right. And they were right next to each other. You had like the red delivery team and the blue. It reminded me of what was the big movie or show last Squid Games.
Yeah.
It was like red and blue, and they're like yelling as loud as they can, "We're going to be the best today," in their own way. And it's like, they just didn't even look at the other team. They had like their peaky blinders on.
Right. Like, it's like horse blinders.
Yeah. It's like they're just like on their guy. You're like, yes, red. Like, but yeah, so I want to, if we can, before you do a break or anything, two things because it'll just take a second.
We got 1 minute before I got to go to the top of the hour break.
Mexico is granting gig workers Social Security. Tokyo has moved to a union for the gig economy. Now let's take a break and come back.
You have to fill the 60 seconds before you say that.
Nope.
We can talk about it.
What is tonight? We're looking at the world through the eyes of the gig economy and the impact that we're having on the world. And I know it's hard to appreciate that when you're delivering somebody's hot dog. I don't feel like I'm part of something that's changing the world, but you are. And whether you've been driving for several years now and you've got 10,000 rideshare rides, or whether this is your first couple of months and you're just now sticking your toe in this a little bit, trying to figure out what this is, you're part of something that is going to go down in history. And I'm not trying to be grandiose here or something. It's a fact. It's amazing stuff going on. Hey, got to take a break on the radio side. We're going to be back in just a few minutes. We got the top of the hour news, some imagers, that kind of stuff. We'll be back in just a few minutes. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. This is Friday Night Driver Nation. Stay right there. All right.
That's how you fill the 60 seconds, Steve.
No, but check. And I probably should have kept going because this is what I could say. I was going to say that I did gig work this week, and don't give it away, Gary. I did gig work this week that changed the way people will see the world.
All right.
Can you dig into that? You probably can figure that out, right? No, Gary? Don't say why, but I'll tell you what I did. But I'm not kidding. It changed the way people will see.
Okay.
What's up, Jonathan? Saw you came in. How are you? And then Rick is asking, is Squid Games the Hunger Games of the current generation?
I never watched Squid Games.
You didn't watch Squid Games?
No.
Dude, during the pandemic when there was nothing to do?
Well, I had stuff to do. I'm a coder.
I know, but I mean, like, dude, even those of us that had stuff to do had a lot of not time to do things.
I began watching it. I watched the first couple of episodes and got distracted by something else.
Butterfly.
Yeah. I was lost and never.
I mean, it's one of those things. I junked out on it with my son because he was at an age where him and his friends were into that, and we just kind of sat down. I think we knocked it out in a day because it was like 7 episodes. But it's worth watching. I mean, if you go into it and afterwards, like you're like Tom and I, and you start critiquing the production value and things like that, you're not going to enjoy Squid Games.
And I guess maybe that's why it didn't last for me. Was that at some point I was kind of like,
Tom hit episode 2 is like, nope.
But I have been told that the Squid Games, even though that I know that we overdubbed it, but I guess that they have extended versions of those Squid Games. Is it Korean, right? It's Korean.
Well, yes, of course it's Korean.
But I've heard that those episodes are like more extended and that the stories mean something a little different over there. So I guess it's one of those things like you were talking about India. It's like
Over there.
Now Tom's ripping on the whole Godzilla franchise. There it goes. Oh no, there goes Tom again. Go Godzilla.
Well, that's like some things I'll turn on and then I'll notice that it's a voiceover. I'm like, no, I can't do that because if I notice it right off the bat, I'm going to notice it the rest of the movie. But there's some that have been so good that I didn't even notice it until I was like 5 episodes in. I'm like, well, now I got the storyline. I have to watch it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I agree with this from James. He says Squid Games was a good watch, yet concerning. Yeah, I know. I mean, honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Well, only because it's like they're not that far off from where society seems to be going at times.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't remember the movie, but there was a movie about hunting people. There's been a bunch of these, but they came out a year or two ago, maybe. Do you remember this?
Well, there's been a whole bunch of them.
I know, but there was one that came out during the pandemic, though, and it was one of those ones you could rent at home, but it wasn't.
Yeah, it was the one with the Thor's brother in it.
I think so, and it also had the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia who plays Dennis.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So, but that one was pretty good. That one actually there was a couple scenes where you're just watching, you're like, what the fuck? What just happened? Like they had a lot of grab you moments, and I'm not usually like that.
Yeah, Liam Hemsworth is who I was thinking of.
So what is the movie?
Well, he was in Hunger Games.
He was in Hunger Games as well.
No, this was different though. This was like rich people hunting.
But there was
most dangerous game is what it was called in 2020.
Okay.
I don't know if that's
and it's where they hunted him around the city.
No, this was a whole group of people. They were flying out. I'll have to look at.
Okay.
Oh, I've seen that one too. I know what you're talking about too. I don't know the name. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Yeah, there was a book that I read when I was a kid called Death Watch. That was kind of this whole story about this guy who hires a young man, late teenager, to be his guide because he's going to go elk hunting in the desert or something like that. But the truth is, what the kid doesn't know is that he's actually going to be the prey, and the guy's going to hunt him. And so it's kind of this first person account of this kid, saying, okay, and he's hunting me down, and it was riveting to me as a kid, and the first of many stories that I've seen since then about people chasing down others. There was one that was kind of like based on Survivor, and but you went from like different people's house, and you kind of your job was to go kill these other people, and it was all filmed on for TV on a weekly series and that kind of stuff. But
yeah, Steve, you was thinking of The Hunt.
Yes. Yeah. And that's worth watching only because you guys like that. If you like kind of like thriller / horror movies, that one has some points that'll grab you. Like you'll be like, you will be taken off your guard. And I'm normally the guy going, this is going to happen. Duh.
I'm going to check it out for sure.
Well, that's a remake of Surviving the Game, by the way.
Surviving the Game. I think that's the one I was talking about. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in TNCRadio.live Friday night. That means it's time to talk about the gig economy. This is Driver Nation. I'm Tom, along with Steve and Gary. Before we jump too far in here, Gary, let's talk about Gary'sApps.com. Gary'sApps.com. What is what you got going on there?
Automation apps for gig drivers. I got apps for Uber, Rideshare, Lyft, food delivery, Grubhub, DoorDash.
Don't add safety last. Make safety first. They're safety apps too.
Yeah, well, yeah, they are safety apps. What they allow drivers to do is drive safer by using preset filters in the app that can auto accept and auto decline trips based on their own personal preferences.
Yeah, and Gary, when you were talking about this last, I'm still trying to find the exact wording that you had because I thought it was perfect. But we were talking about this one time. And basically you were saying that you kind of put yourself in the role of, if I'm out there driving, what was it that was missing? And I think we've all done that, especially if you've been driving without something like Gary's apps for any length of time. You're thinking to yourself, what would be great? If I had an app that could look at both Uber and Lyft at the same time and help me figure out which one I want to take and make sure, how many of us who are doing multiple apps, you get the Uber job, and you're driving along and you're thinking, okay, great. I got the guy in the backseat.
It's not a job.
The Lyft app goes off and you realize I forgot to turn it off. Okay. Now we got the Lyft thing beeping at me while I'm driving my car. And Gary's apps fixes all of that for you because he's been there. He's done it. He understands what you're going through and has figured out the ways around. And what's great about Gary's apps too is Gary's right here. He's not, halfway across the world and you can't ever reach it. If you're like, what would be cool too if it did this, or if I could change the interface this way a little bit. He wants to get your input and talk to you about what it is that you're doing, and how he can make the apps even better. So I submit this to all of you who are driving. Gary'sApps.com. It's worth the time, energy, money, whatever, to put this stuff on your whatever you're using, your cell phone or whatever, to do your gig work. It's all right here for you. And Gary, again, he's not going to get rich doing this. This is something that he does because he cares and he thinks it needs to be done, and he sees the place to do it, and he's built something really wonderful. And I don't get anything from him to talk about it this way. I'm just telling you that if you really want to improve safety, and if you want to improve, just the flow of the day, because we try to get into this flow, and you know what I'm talking about when you're in the flow. Okay, got that, drop that one off, pick this one up, do this, and you get done at the end of the day and you look at your numbers and you're like, dang, I did good today. Gary's apps is what's helps you get through that, because it's the apps themselves sometimes that just eat your lunch, and you realize you just worked the last 4.5 hours and you made $8.32, and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I even out here? Again, Gary's app's going to help you with all that. So I submit all that to you, and wanted to. A lot of times we wait till the end of the show to talk about it, but I wanted to make sure that everybody got to hear that.
I have a question for Gary real quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
I want to know if Gary, his first actual vision, because I've talked to him about this relentlessly. So, I mean, like, actually, I don't think I've ever asked him this. Was your first actual vision, I need to make an app, when that damn thing was flashing at you?
No, no, not the very first vision I had, because the very first version of Maximo, hold on. The very first version of Maximo didn't do everything it does today. It was just like, it was a quick switch for you, so you could tap the Uber Lyft icon on the overlay and it'd quickly switch to that app. So that way, because my first thought when I started creating that, I was like, this is dumb that I have to touch my phone so much driving down the road.
Yes.
You know, and then I got Uber flashing in my face, and then I started multi-apping with Lyft. Now I got Lyft and Uber both in my face, and they're both got some bright lights, a lot of noise. And
back then too, when it was
Yeah.
just those two, I can't tell you the amount of times, like, I was just, you know, I thought I was in the best groove. Oh, I picked up an Uber, turning off Lyft. But I swear almost half of the time I'd be caught with Lyft still being on in the background.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like,
then middle
damn
of
it,
your
man.
ride, you have your
Talk to me.
passengers in your car with you. And here comes this Lyft. You just lost your GPS.
Right.
So now you got to decline the ride. You got to turn off Lyft, then go back to Uber. Like, it's a hassle.
In the meantime, they're sitting in the back seat going, turn right, turn. You missed the
Right.
turn.
You're like, oh, you missed the turn. You missed the
Oh,
turn.
and in the early days when I used to try and toggle back and forth, I mean, let's go back that many years too. iPhones and Androids, and no phone was like as easy to toggle back and forth. But when you did, I'd sometimes shut down the app I had a passenger on. I'd close it.
Yes.
Right.
It'd be like, oh crap. And now I had the app open beeping at me. So I'd turn that off, close that, reopen Uber.
Yep.
See, I've actually had to pull over on the side of the road with passengers in my car
Yeah.
because I was trying to
Absolutely.
toggle these stupid apps.
I think I have to. Yeah.
And no
that's when-
matter what
that's when
you
I was
say,
like,
the
okay, I gotta
customer,
do
if you're dead honest, the customer is
Yeah.
not going to believe you. These apps don't work real well.
Uh-huh.
Are you
Right.
sure it's not you that doesn't work real well, buddy?
Well, and it really was. I can't blame the apps completely because it really was me as well, not being as efficient as I could have been. Like, now that I use Maximo and stuff, like, I never touch my phone whenever I do stuff. I just let it work, and then I just go about my day. And I know we talked about this once before, but if you're a DoorDash driver and you have to decline stuff, that's three taps to decline one single order,
Mhm.
you know? And so you do decline 100 orders a day. You know, some people are declining 300 orders a day.
I mean, when I had Nova on this summer, Nova Dasher, to co-host the podcast, and Nova's a diehard Gary Zapps user,
Right.
and he actually didn't have the answer right off bat, so he had to pull it up on his phone because he was like, I don't know, because of Gary's apps, I don't see them all. But I was like, you know, how many are you accepting a day? And he was telling me, I said, how many offers do you get a day? And he's like, I don't know anymore. And he looked, and it was like he was accepting like 22. He was seeing 240.
Right.
But he
And
wasn't seeing them because of Gary's apps.
right, because he didn't have to manually decline them because my apps did it for him, you know. And so that's what I was getting at. If you get 300 rides a day that you decline, you have to touch your phone 3 times to do every one. You're now touching your phone 900 times
Mm-hmm.
just to decline orders, not even making money,
Right.
all while you're trying to drive or do other tasks. So
Right.
that's what Gary'sApps.com takes all that frustration out of it.
There you go. So Lisa's jumping in. She's saying she wouldn't drive without it. You know, there's a lot of people who feel that way. So I submit all that to you on behalf of TNC Radio and this program. That you know, this is if you're not doing it and you're having the issues like we're talking about, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And Steve, I'll let you spin the wheel. What was on your mind that you wanted to make sure we talked about tonight?
I want to talk about I want to say at least the last 6 months, maybe even. Now, I've had a crazy summer and coming out and whatnot, but yesterday I had probably my best earnings day, and I know that for 6 months, but might even be for the year if I really look at the hours, everything, and I view it from the way that I viewed it yesterday. I would say of the year, it was all Curry. Here's the totals, just so that we can go through it as the totals. I mean, clearly, I have standards on how I base local curry, how I base curry runs going out of town. So I might not have met my actual criteria itself, but I feel really good about the decisions I made. So I made 67.23 doing a short local run in Denver, 24 miles. Okay. Then I made $416.69 for driving 203 miles up to Vail Valley.
Wow.
And then back. So 406 miles round trip. For that, I made $416.69. So that went over the $1 a mile, barely, but it did go over the $1 a mile, even on the return. It covered more than it covered almost let's see. It's almost $3 a mile on the 24 miles. So I made $483.92, drove 430 miles, and I was home by 2:30 p.m. So I'm middle of the afternoon. I'm home. I had already pulled that day, all in 8.2 hours.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
I mean, let's call it a $500 day in 8 hours.
That's great.
I mean, I know that, you know, we talked about it last night. I know a lot of people say, well, you can't pull that every day. You can't. Yeah, but you can. I mean, if you get a cargo van, you can make more than I made. There's ways to like really tweak this out. And if you want to go for it, I mean, I've been like weighing it, you know, I've been looking at or trying to think about like, I need to talk to Curry about like, what do the offers look like for cargo vans?
Wow. Yeah.
You know, I mean, because if they're 3 times as much, I'll run a cargo van.
Right.
I mean, end of story. I mean, like a lot of it's they're exclusive. They were exclusive, then they weren't. Now they are again with Sherman-Williams. So that paint thing alone is about 80% of my business.
Didn't we see someone that actually rented a van for gig work?
Yeah, I don't know that Curry lets you do that though, because I was asking them about that. I said, is it something I can try? Can I rent a box truck? Because I had done a route, which is a 24-foot box truck. So I wanted to know, like, when I did that route, it's their truck. It was at a plumbing supply company, and it paid a day rate of $240. And if you worked up to 8 hours, if you worked 5 hours, you still got $240. And the nice thing about Curry, I don't know if I've told you this, Tom, is that the second you're done with a job, within 5 minutes, that job's payment is in your account. If you do 3 jobs in a day, they don't care. They don't wait and tally it at the end of the day. They deposit every time you finish.
That's cool.
Well, it's not instant though. It takes a little bit.
Well, maybe 10 minutes.
Day,
when I look in 10 minutes, it's in there. So pretty instant. But yeah, I mean, that was huge to me. And I got to say, like, Tom, you've been out here to Colorado, you know, I mean, I went up from Denver to Vail Valley. It was almost like on a weekday. It was like a beautiful drive. You know, it wasn't crazy weather. It was a sunny sky, bluebird day. You know, it was just like, really, I mean, yes, it was work. Yes, I had to pay attention while I'm driving. Yes, it's a lot of things I had to do, but that's a lot of money. I mean, I was thinking at $500 a day, we did this math last night. Okay, so at the 483 or whatever, I said 22 days, but let's just say 500 a day. 500 a day, and you work 20 days a week or 20 days a month, and that's 10 grand a month with 10 days off a month. So you would get 120 days off a year if you could do this every day. You could get 120 days off a year. You'd work 20 days a month. You'd make 10 grand a month. At the end of the year, you'd make 120.
Yep.
Courier work is big, you guys. There's other apps out there doing it too. So I'm not just plugging Curry here. I'm not. I find more luck in Curry, but you might find VHO, or, you know, you might find Freight, one of those might be better for you in your market. I don't know. And I doubt if curry's not that big in your market that those are going to pay you much more. Roadie might be okay for you, but I just don't think any compared to the overall daily curry pay. It just doesn't.
Well, that's very cool. I picture you driving down the road on that beautiful, and they're like cartoon bluebirds coming out of the vents in your car, and little cartoon music notes coming. You know,
Totally.
And you just kind of.
And then I pull over because Proposition 122 passed here in Colorado, allowing psilocybin. And I just stop at the gas station and say, "You guys got some mushrooms? Because this is a gorgeous day, man."
Oh man!
God, I live in a fun state.
You do. It is remarkable.
You're very open-minded here.
Yeah.
Maybe it's all that recreational stuff you got.
Well, see, no, but that's what I'm saying. The psilocybin is like right now, that's not even in a state where there can be places that legally dispense it to the patient. Because there's like doctors now prescribing psilocybin as an alternative to like get you off some hardcore medicines. Dementia patients are seeing huge results in dementia patients with psilocybin testing. And I don't know. And a lot of these people are people who have never, ever dreamed of or thought of taking it. You know, they're in their 80s and stuff. And no, I've never touched the stuff. Never, like, but they're having like ridiculous success with very extreme cases too. So I don't know. I find it really interesting. And, you know, obviously we'll be a stepping stone like we were for other states when marijuana went legal. Obviously other states will go to this too. But right now what it is it's actually a very weird law. It's you can't sell it. The state can't sell it. The state can't facilitate it. You can't sell it to any of your friends or even give it to them, but you can grow it at your house and eat it at your will.
Okay.
And if you don't have more than, I think it's whatever amount they placed, I'm not even sure the amount. If you don't have more than the amount they placed on you, on your person, in a search, it has to go back. So, I mean, how funny is that for a cop to go, "Oh, are these mushrooms?" And you go, "Yeah, but it's only 3 grams. Give me that."
Give me that.
Can't take this, man.
I'm taking that back. I don't approve of you taking my drug.
Citizen's arrest.
Hey, we're gonna take a break on the radio side. We're gonna be back in just a couple of minutes. I want to come back, talk about I want to talk about a story that took place. I think it was this past Sunday right here in Houston regarding an Uber driver. And so we'll talk about that and more in just a few minutes. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy though, huh?
Very.
The curry money. That's pretty. Yeah. I mean, dude, I was just, I put out a thing on social media. I think it was just YouTube. I made a post, not a video, just a community post that showed one of the runs, the 1693 or whatever it was, and it said 203 miles. So that meant 406. And I put it up as who would take this. And there was a lot of people all over the map on it. Like, well, that's not $1.50 a mile, or, most people were like, "Oh yeah, I'd take it." And it was just weird for me because I really thought everybody would jump on, I would take it, because most of them don't drive curry. And I was thinking, man, I told Gary, Gary was trying to overestimate my market a little, even because he knows I live in a good market for gig work. But like I said, if I did DoorDash from 6 a.m. till 2:30, I would make $120. He said 150 maybe. I said, fine. Okay, it's Thursday, maybe, but $150. I said I made $500. And yeah, I put some more miles on my car, but they were highway miles. I didn't have to deal with people. Because I think that city miles destroy your car. I think that risk of driving around the city, I don't know if like Houston's like Denver, Tom, but ever since the pandemic, we were behind on road fixing before the pandemic. Now it's ridiculous how much road work we have going on.
Yeah, well, we have a major artery in St. Louis or in Houston this weekend that's just closed. Well, it's going to close in 30 minutes and be closed until Monday morning. And I mean, it's like, don't even bother to try to go downtown.
Right. I'm talking about them trying to merge the two of the biggest highways in the country, though, Interstate 25 and Interstate 70. They're now going to 7 levels underground, one ways, 7 lanes. And the middle, if you know Denver, the middle is going to be a park so that you can cross from the 4 quads over this that'll have 7 layers underneath of traffic.
Wow.
I mean, if you can imagine digging that far in the middle of where those two meet, it's pretty ridiculous.
All right, coming back in 15 seconds here on the radio side of things.
Joe, it was 203 miles.
And 3, 2, 1. Welcome back in TNCRadio.live. Friday night. And that means it's time for Driver Nation. Before you jump in on the segments for this stuff, wanted to talk a little bit about what it is that you're doing with your stuff, Steve, and especially you've been talking and kind of giving us a little hints for a little while about some of the things you have planned coming up in regards to how people access this stuff from Rideshare, Rodeo, and UberLiftDrivers.com and all that. So what do you got planned?
So I'm still merging UberLiftDrivers.com. Well, I'm actually, what I'm going to try and do now is build RideshareRodeo.com as a brand new site.
Okay.
And then have Uber Lyft drivers, like I think I was telling you before we talked about, what do you call it, a subdomain?
Okay.
Have Uber Lyft drivers be the subdomain kind of archived within it. And then when you get there, because I do so many things, it's such a brain F to to be nice about it, to even try. Like I get caught off guard a lot, even like, well, where do I find you? I'm like, well, what are you trying to find? You know, it's like it, and people don't want that answer. They're just like, dude, I asked you something simple. Like, you know, it's, but you know, I want everything to go to ridesharerodeo.com. When you do that, I want that to be it. You find everything you need and it's right in front of you. The podcast, the YouTube channel, the other social networks, the news, a new blog I want to get started of my personal blogging, working, along with the news site still continuing, which is there. I guess there's a little bouncing issue that had been happening. If you type in ridesharerodeo.com, it should bounce to uberliftdrivers.com. Last night, Kim was telling me it wasn't working, that it was going to a dead page or something. But if it doesn't, uberliftdrivers.com, but I'm trying to promote it as ridesharerodeo.com. I have both domains. It should be bouncing over there. And then soon you'll just see a whole new website. You won't have to worry about any of the schematical details, but
good.
So what you're saying is you're simplifying it like we did with GaryZapps.com.
That's right. Yeah, because GaryZapps.com is MiddletonTech.com, right. And then you have to go to the apps page, and when that night, I don't even remember, but I knew that it was like a Sunday fun day, and when when Gary and I were talking about it, and I said something, he was like, it just like snapped in him. I saw him turn on his computer to see if it was available. It was. I don't even think he paid one of those higher prices. It was like $15.
Yeah,
like nobody had
12,
thought of it.
$12.99.
Yeah, and so he gets the domain and he just points it to the app page on Middleton. It was perfect.
Yeah. And so that's basically what you're doing now. Is because I said that a long time ago to you. I was like, why do you have two? You know, because you kept trying to, like, you'd point all your listeners to Rideshare Rodeo, and then you'd point all their blog people to Uber Lyft drivers. I was like, why don't you just have one?
You know why? Because I had been doing Uber Lyft drivers for 5 years. Right. Like, I'm coming up on March will be 6 years of Uber Lyft drivers, and I've been on YouTube for 2 years now. And the first 8-9 months of YouTube, I didn't even post a video. I was just on it, checking out other people's stuff, and that's why I got a weird algorithm, I think, too, coming out of the gate. But when I did start posting was about June of last year. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, everything, the podcast itself can be found there. I mean, the podcast, and the podcast is evolving too, because I now put on Fridays, I drop the audio version of what we do on Thursday night, which is a really good show, the Roundtable. And then on Tuesday, it's still the original Rideshare Rodeo podcast. Never missed a Tuesday drop since May of 2020. You can find it on every pod player out there. And if you can't, please email me at steve@ridesharerodeo.com. No, and let me know which one I'm not showing up on, because I really have gone out of my way to download pod players I would never put on my phone just to see if it's on there. So if you are using a pod player and you check for Rideshare Rodeo podcast and you don't see it and my logo, then please let me know. Steve@ridesharerodeo.com. I'd really like to, because I'm trying to make sure I can tell, because right now I'm even saying it. Go to any app, you'll find it. So
got it.
But I also, I got a bunch of stuff coming up, a lot of crazy stuff we'll be talking about for the upcoming weeks too.
Well, go for it. No, tell us.
Well, I mean, now I'm not even like in front of it. I mean, like I'm not in front of all my stuff. I've been actually, I actually had my Google Calendar and a paper and a pen and paper. I'm back to pen and paper, you guys. I'm enjoying pen and paper lately. I don't know why.
Well, I was going to ask you that since I know where you're at in your house. Yeah. Where's your calendar down? Because it used to be on the right side of you.
There's no wall here.
Yeah, there's no walls.
Gary's been to my house now. He knows where I am.
Yeah. So I'm like, wait, where's your calendar? Because he used to go, well, let me check.
Right. Because Gary was surprised I had a paper calendar on the wall.
I did. Like, I just throw everything in my calendar on my computer.
And then I think you were doubting me too, and you saw it was actually like filled in.
It was the whole month.
Tom, one other thing that I would like to mention too that we should, I just find funny. I know that they changed, but the gig economy apps get rated by payments.com, the top 15 every month. And they just came in. They get scores up to 100, and some fell. Most of them fell, and even some of the ones that fell in the score moved up. So Uber's at number 1 with 95. You guys are gonna be surprised by a lot of these. A lot of them aren't ones even we work, but just movers and shakers. Who's up? Who's down? They have a lot of different. The scoring factors are channel coverage, up-to-date downloads, monthly average users, and sessions per user, average session length. And so number 1 is Uber, 2 DoorDash, 3 Instacart, 4 Amazon Flex, and tied for 4 is Fiverr. Number 5 is Grubhub. Number 6 is Up. Number 7 is TaskRabbit. Number 8 is Lyft with a score of 53, which is really bad. They fell again. And number 9 is Freelancer. Number 10 is Wanalo, which I did an article on, and they have a score of 36, but somehow they made it in here. Number 11 is Snagajob. Never even heard of that till I saw it on here. Number 12 is Thumbtack. Number 13 is Jobby. Number 14 is Gigwalk, and number 15 is People Per Hour. I mean, the first 3 we all got, right? But I'm wondering how many of those other ones people even. I mean, I know people know of TaskRabbit or Fiverr, but have you used them?
What is People Per Hour?
I don't know. No, it doesn't sound right, does it?
It doesn't. It's like.
It sounds like a horrible name. I agree, man. And their logo is kind of like it. It's like a circle face with 2 eyes, but it doesn't have any mouth.
It's kind of like a Fiverr or a Upwork or
but
you
much worse name. It scored 16 and still made the top 15. I mean, but here's my point. Okay, that's at the bottom at 15. Okay, so where is what was the one I was looking for? Okay, Instacart's there. Like where's Shipped? Where is Spark? Spark can't even score 16.
And they're some of the top earning apps right now.
I know. This came out today. Again, I told you the factors. The factors are channel coverage, up-to-date downloads. These are the 4 key points. Monthly average users and sessions per user and average session length.
Okay.
So I don't know if a session is like, is that count while you're like what they call active time, or
right? That was my question.
Or just sitting there. Does that count too, or is it only when you're working with a client on the app? So I don't know. Nonetheless, I would still think some of these would have scored higher or got up higher than some of these other ones. I'm surprised that like up 4 points is Winolo to 32. Amazon Flex was the biggest gainer. It gained 6 points. Freelancer gained 6. Winolo gained 4 over last month, and then it's all losses all the way down the board. Jobble lost 4, but went up in its ranking. Thumbtack for professionals went -3 points, but went up in its ranking. And Lyft Driver lost 1 point and went down in its ranking. So I don't know. I just find this stuff weird that like first of all, Lyft, why aren't you at a score of 4 at best? Why do you have a 56 or 53? Who gave you a 53? That's like an F-. You're not an F-. You're like kicked out of the test for not answering any of the questions. Yeah, right. Curry isn't on there. Rodeo isn't on there. And Rodio's UPS, and UPS and FedEx are now optimizing gig workers too. That's another thing that happened since we were last live.
Well, tell us about that.
So FedEx has been really on the chopping block. I don't know. A lot of you probably know that. They've kind of really been hurting the pandemic, supply chain, workers that are W-2 for them and whatnot. And they just never thought even of stepping into the gig world. Well, UPS bought Rodeo, and so they're now operating gig workers while my theory is the same on Spark. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I believe Spark and I believe Rodeo are operating to see how to optimize UPS and Walmart better. They are not looking out for the best interests of gig workers or thinking these apps are going to be around forever. If I had to make a guess, neither of these apps will be good very long after the new year. And they might even go away and be like absolved by Walmart into something else, or even still called Spark, but something different.
Really?
That's my thought. Yeah. I don't think they pay out the, guys, there's a porn star in here. Can you snipe it? Thank you. That's why I have mods, Gary. Arsenal of them. But there we go. Oh, and then it was Gary that sniped him anyway. But yeah, I don't think they will. I mean, because is Walmart going out of business? Heck no.
Yeah.
But I don't think that this exuberant pay like that I make on Curry, and I know people have asked me like, well, how do you know Curry's honeymoon phase isn't over? I'm like, well, Curry started just about 2 years ago, and they've steadied their price. They've gone down a little, but Curry's also made money since month 3. I mean, Uber's been around 14 years, hasn't made any money.
Which is still hard to understand and hard to believe, actually.
Well, we know there's a bunch of underhanded stuff going on.
Well, I mean, I think it's also a different type of insurance and things like that, because Curry didn't have to carry the same type of insurance that Uber and Lyft have to carry.
No, but Curry is now venturing into interstate commerce, and I'm sure that carries with it a whole new, Tom probably knows best, a whole new set of, because they work with the 18-wheelers. They're buying out some of these older trucks. They want a couple of distribution centers over next year.
You know what I'm surprised is like because I told you about the new app idea I want to do, right? I told you about that a while back with the roadside services.
Oh, I thought you meant sex dolls. Okay.
No, that's your deal. But like it requires a DOT number for each individual state to accept my licensing. So does Curry have that as well?
I don't need it when I do Curry runs. You don't need it when you do Curry hotshot runs. I don't need it when I do a Curry route.
But do they? But do they have one?
Or I'm sorry, I do. I'm sorry, I do need it when I do a Curry route.
Oh, okay. So they do have one then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And for their bigger stuff that they outsource to the bigger truckers and stuff, I'm sure they have a whole different thing that you have to. I don't know what all truckers need to carry and stuff, so I don't want to like speak out of line, but you know what I mean? Like I'm sure you have to show them all that. Like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have that? Do you have that? I don't know. I'm just, you know, but now they didn't used to though on the routes. Now even the route drivers. So if you're using their truck and still on the gig work side where you're being paid daily though, you do have to get a dot.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just curious about that.
But we're the only state too that made you get dot for Uber and Lyft.
True. Well, no, I mean New York, they had the licensing thing, or not the equivalent of the taxi cab, but something similar, right?
What do you mean? Oh,
then they have to have like some type of registration for like New York City.
yeah. Or else if they go beneath.
Yeah, not
I
a
mean, I think it's for Manhattan. Anything south of like 80th or 120th or something, you would have to pay the entry to the island fee or whatever.
Right.
So I see that James here, Tom, is asking, insurance is the biggest. I think he's saying hump for dot, but okay, insurance. So like when I'm doing a Curry route, that's not my insurance, and in fact, that's not even my insurance working with Uber. I am fully covered by Curry by having my dot. So I'm not sure how the two interlace.
Well, because I said that the reason why Uber and Lyft have to pay more is because they have to have different type of insurance. But
right, but I mean, like where he was saying the biggest hump for the dot number is insurance, but like for me to go get a dot test, first of all, I think you can do them for free, but if not, it's like 20.
Well, no, but the insurance you got to carry on the vehicles and the cargo,
right? But if
like
you're doing like that's what I'm saying. If you're doing courier work, though, it's not even like where your insurance and Uber work together, and you're not even really sure what's going to happen, even if you're carrying the right insurance and everything. Like, how am I really insured? You know, am I fully around the clock insured? Like, it's not even like that. You're the best insured you can be once you get your dot and you're working Curry on their vehicle. Fully through them.
Yeah, through them. Not in
like
not
they
in your
they
own
told
vehicle.
me even on a route or on a hotshot run that all of the coverage for me and anybody around me is full. But if I wanted to take Max in the car, Max is not covered at all in any way by Curry or anything, but he can be in the car.
Oh, that's what he's saying right here. To get a DOT number, you have to have a minimum of $750K insurance policy.
Yeah, James, I don't know what that would look like. I don't know how much that would cost or.
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I tell you what, James, let's talk offline about getting you on this show in the near future, and we'll get Steve on our other show here in the near future, because you might think, what do rideshare drivers and truck drivers have in common? More than you think, more than just sharing the road together. There's a lot of things that work in the gig economy and what truck drivers have to deal with on a daily basis. There's a lot of crossover there, a lot of confusion, and you take somebody like James who has built his own trucking company, has half a dozen vehicles, and growing from there. Which again, side tangent to my side tangent. Most people don't realize that's what accounts for 80% of trucking.
Yeah.
Or small companies, and Gary's built one, and that's why he's part of the TNCRadio.live family, talking about how do we build out these companies, how do we keep them running, those kinds of things. So he's got a lot of background on all this. So we can James, you and I will talk offline, get you on one of these shows here in the next few weeks, and we can talk more about that in more detail. I got to take a break on the radio side, and we'll come back and wrap everything up. You're listening to TNCRadio.live Friday night. That's Driver Nation. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Hey, James, I also put I put a link in there for you, curry.com, and Curry is with an I, obviously. I put it in there. Check if that link, I don't think that link will work because I didn't put it as the whole link.
Here, I'll post it.
Yeah. But check out Curry because it has all the information about it too. What we're referring to when we're talking about Curry here is last mile services, is what it's referred to in the gig economy as. So it's kind of the melding of trucking and just kind of Amazon Flex-ish type stuff, like working. You might be working, like for me primarily, I drive an SUV. I primarily work for, most of my Curry gigs are Sherman-Williams paint, about 80%. The rest, about 15%, making 95. The other 15 is plumbing supplies, and the other 5 is just random stuff. So Josh B, what's up? He's a big Curry guy too. He's been on for a while now, about a month, maybe more. He was asking me to get on, and I'd pulled a couple favors for some people, and then of some other people, like they do in our community, told everybody, and everybody started asking, and then Josh just was in the right place at the right time. I did a Curry live, and then some of the Curry team showed up, and they took anybody off the waiting list that was at that live, and Josh happened to be there.
Wow, that's cool.
Like in his area, he's in Philly. In his area, they didn't even need another driver. They just took him off because he showed up and was chatting with them.
See, it pays to watch us.
That's
it
right.
Pays to watch us.
Or listen. Either one.
People.
Sometimes. If not, we're going to claim we know them anyways. Right. Till they come on here, they can't prove us otherwise.
You did, Josh. You've done 3. Today. Nice. Today. I did one this. I've done the scheduled ones. I think I saw you put something about this too, Josh. The scheduled ones. I've been like having my pick of the litter for scheduled runs in the morning, like every day. Tomorrow's Saturday, so I won't even look. But I'm sure there's a few. But like every night, I've been seeing like 7, and I'm like, which one do I want? Because they're all 7 a.m. pickups. So that's never happened before. Curry's like backlogging, and I thought winter was going to bring me back a bit.
Yeah, let me check mine. Yep, still nothing.
Yeah. Did you update it? It never forces an update. It never even suggests one, dude.
No, my apps automatically update though.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, like,
no, it's up to date. No, it's just I have it registered as my car instead of my SUV. I need to switch it back to my SUV. So that way I at least get the paint runs.
I think that I got a theory on this. I think that it's not about could your car fit it or not. I think it's about the look of, at bare minimum, they want an SUV pulling up.
It could be.
I think so, because I go to these new builds and stuff, and I can just tell, even though it's just the construction people and the foremans, they just don't want a Pinto pulling up with no windshield. And they're $10,000 of paint, dude. All I know is I took 480 pounds of paint the other day. Okay. And I didn't have a dolly to unload it. It was 9 5-gallon barrels, but the new Sherman-Williams operation in Parker low jacks all of the paint. And I thought it was just one in the batch, but they low jack every one. Paint is now gold, you guys. Because he said to me, like, we're a distribution center, and he's like, because it was a new build, and he's like, if I see you making wrong turns, I'll let you know. And I was like, what? He's like, I'll be watching you in real time. We have trackers on the paint. I was like, Jesus. Just what? Where? Gold. You can drive with gold, and they don't need it. But if you're driving with paint. And that was my thing too. When I said that I was changing the way the other day, I was changing the way people see the world. It's because of paint. Like if you paint a wall red, you're just gonna see your world different, man.
Change it back to my SUV. We'll see what pops up.
I'm sorry. I had to say it because it's true. I'm changing the world one curry run at a time.
One can at a time.
I mean, that load right there was 1/4 of a ton of paint.
All right. Coming back in 30 seconds. And we'll have about 8 minutes. What do you want to cover next, Steve? Do you know?
Yeah. There's
you think about it because I'm about to toss it to you here in about 10 seconds.
I don't know if I do. I don't know if I want to talk about this. It's
okay,
it's a little too what is it? Buffalo Kodiak. Yeah, it's too Kodiak to try and fit into this time.
One. All right, welcome back in TNCRadio.live. Last segment. Man, these 2 hours go by fast on a Friday night. Hope you're having a safe trip out there weather-wise. If you're in the Northwest United States this weekend, getting pounded by a new storm coming in off Washington, Oregon, big-time snow going through Montana, Idaho, down through the Utah area. Are you going to get any of this, Steve, or is it all going to stay north of you?
And it looked like the mountains are going to get it. I don't know how long you're seeing it for, but I saw that the mountains are going to get like pounded until like Sunday.
Yeah.
From like tonight, but it didn't look like anything's hitting Denver, which happened. That kind of happens a lot for those of you that don't know. I'm pretty sure Tom's aware, but the bottom of the storm from Montana coming up will always catch the Rockies, but it pulls back up with the jet stream and sometimes misses the front range here. So,
yeah. So if you're out driving, double check your 70 versus 80, as far as which interstate you want to be on this weekend. My guess is you're going to want to stay on 70. Probably going to be a better route for you this weekend because it sounds like 80 and north is going to get pounded pretty hard for the next few days, really throughout the entire weekend. Things looking a lot better on the East Coast. We got some rain going on still on I-95 up on the northern side of the country. The rest of the country is looking pretty good. Windy. We've had some really high winds all the way down into New Mexico, where earlier today they were talking about straight line, clear sky winds, 80 to 85 miles an hour.
We you know what? I want to say we had those same probably strength winds too. People don't believe it, but we get sometimes we get some pretty crazy wind up here. Like Longmont Airport had 6 airplanes flipped about 11 years ago.
Wow.
And it was like gale. They were referring to it as gale force, same way that they refer to hurricanes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we were talking earlier today about that feeling, and everybody who's driven, every single person who's listening to this right now knows what I'm talking about. That moment where the wind catches you. I don't care whether you're driving an 18-wheeler, a motorcycle, 4-wheeler, whatever you're driving, where the wind catches you and you know that for the last few seconds, you didn't actually drive the car. it was kind of doing its own thing. And you talk about pucker factor. You get that pit in your stomach knowing for a moment there, I had no control over this thing whatsoever because the wind had just grabbed it and does that thing to you where you're just not expecting it. And it can be pretty intimidating. So watch out for that throughout the western side of the country right now. Just have a lot of weather going on there. The rest of the country is going to be a pretty good weekend, I think. And some colder air coming out of the north, except down here on the Gulf Coast. We're going to take a little dip in temperature, but then throughout the Gulf Coast, we're going to be in the 80s for the next week. So we're happy about that. Turn the AC back on and enjoy.
I want to see what here is. Now you got me wondering.
Yeah,
I really don't care about here. I care about the mountains, but now you got me wondering. So, okay, tomorrow, 48, mostly sunny, high of 48, low of 28, mostly sunny. Sunday, completely sunny, 53, high, low 33. Monday, 52, 26, 50, 26, and they're all sunny. Good. But if I go into the mountains look like they're for the next 2 days, they're getting pounded. Like if you were to bring up Vail or Steamboat.
Yeah, they're measuring it in feet, not inches. So, they're talking 2, 3, 4 feet of snow going through that area. So
the same way I do my man parts.
I thought we were going to get through a whole show, but
Almost so close.
We got close. What was the over under on that, Gary? I think we had him at an hour and a half, so he certainly made past the over, but didn't get through the show completely. Yeah. Steve's always got something to brag about.
Josh laughed.
In the few minutes left here, for those of you who don't use TNCRadio.live, encourage you to do so in the mornings. We do the morning grind, which is a kind of combination of what I was just doing, talking about the weather. We talk about traffic around the country, really giving the report on the major cities and what's going on. We have 16 cities that we monitor, and they are the 16 cities with the largest commercial vehicle traffic. So, and we give you information on what's going on, mostly around the major. I mean, we're not going to talk about there's a car broken down on I-25, at exit 243 or something like that. But if I-25 is going to be closed for the next 2 hours because of a major accident, that will report and make sure that people know that. And the reason we're doing that is to give our commercial driver listening audience the information they need to make other decisions. They might decide, all right, well, if the I-25 is going to be closed the next 2 hours, I might want to do this instead, or maybe it's time to go have some breakfast and, wait this one out or whatever. So we give reports and we talk about what's going on in the world. And one of the things we got coming up, and just as an example, sometime in the next week or two, we're going to have a very serious discussion about what are the absolute worst Christmas songs. Everybody has at least one that they're like, oh my God, if they play that one more time, I'm gonna crash my car in a tree. Wait,
but do you also have one that you always like to hear as well?
Oh yeah, so we'll talk about that. But
no, just the hate.
We had a great time this summer coming up with what the worst song, the most annoying songs of all time were, and the one that won was The Song That Never Ends.
Oh yeah,
from Sherry Lewis and the little puppets that she has, and that one. So I'm curious as to what is going to be that Christmas song. Is it "Mama Got Run Over by"? What is it? Mama Got Run Over.
The entire Mariah Carey Christmas album.
That's somebody's already mentioned that one, Steve. You're not the first one to mention that. Alvin and the Chipmunks got a vote already. So we're going to start coming up with something to talk about. So we have fun with it, and at the same time, talk about what's going on in the world of traffic and all that kind of stuff. And then we have throughout the day all sorts of other programming. In the evenings, we have our primetime shows, things like Mind Your Trucking Business, this show, and others. So there's a lot that we're doing here on this station every single night and throughout the day. So 24/7. Hope you're able to make it on Saturday mornings. We talk about the things that people like to do on Saturday mornings, like fish, play golf, work on their cars, that kind of thing. We have shows on each of those items. On Sunday mornings, we have Truckers Church. Got a lot of people out there who would love to go to church on Sunday. They can't. They have to work. They got to go drive. And so we try to help that out and have good words and those kinds of things for people on Sunday morning. So we've been going now we're coming up on 2.5 years at the end of December. And we're blowing up right now. Things are really kind of incredible. Adding new listeners and new shows all the time. Added a new show last night, so it's pretty great time. So that's what's been going on here at TNC. We've talked about Gary's apps. We've talked about Rideshare Rodeo. Guys, thank you so much for being part of the show tonight. Really appreciate it. We covered a lot of different things, and we'll cover more next week. Right back here at the same time, same channel, right here on TNCRadio.live. Say goodnight, Steve.
Good night, Steve.
Good night, Steve.
We're out of here. Stay tuned for more. Oh, speaking of which, coming up right after this, if you're not sure about Rideshare Rodeo, you want to know more about it, hear more about it, got one coming up right now. So you can hear Rideshare Rodeo with Steve Johnson right here, TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned. Okay, guys, we're out, and the next show is starting.
Let me just shout out to a couple people that came in late. We got it looks like Rodney came. What's up, Rodney? Rodney came in and said his favorite is grandma got run over by a reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Ron, what's up? How are you? We are just ending the show here. And I think Josh was referring to me saying
To
Mariah Carey.
Yes.
And right
yes.
on, because I mean the whole album should be burned. Like the old book burnings. Like, and I mean the digital copies too. We should have to throw computers into the fires that have played it. So Mariah Carey, I'm coming for you. I don't like you, and I don't like what you try to do with Christmas.
Do you know that every December she makes, like, I forget what the number is, so I'm gonna $40 million or whatever it is, this astronomical number. Every December she makes all this extra money just from people playing her
songs.
Yeah.
Hey man, it keeps her butt lifts up.
She's the most recorder, what has sold the most albums of anybody in the history of music now.
I mean, I wish
if
I
you
could
call
make
it
40 million every Christmas. I don't care what
if
it
you call
was.
it music.
Yeah.
You don't even have to call it music. You can call it trash as long as I'm making 40 million.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Hey, let's wrap it up. And thank you very much. Good show. Appreciate everything. And we will.
I think when you start signing us out on the radio side, I'm just going to let you say, instead of radio side, just say, hey, I'm signing us out. And I'm just going to sign us out here too.
All right.
That'll just be one sign out.
You
guys got the bonus content tonight, but now we're leaving. So
yeah.
Hey, can you drop us from the YouTube, but still keep us on the other? I just got a quick offline question I want to ask you.
Oh yeah, yep. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
just don't leave. Just don't hit leave studio.
I'm gonna leave the studio.
No, me. He's talking to me.
Oh, we'll both.
I'm telling him don't hit leave.
You guys,
studio.
We'll see you. I got 13 minutes of news for you tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Well, midnight